what were some of the things that you had to endure coming up in North Carolina?
You know, it's so crazy because for me, like in the moment, I remember not thinking it was that bad, and then I
Mhm.
look back at what I just accepted as real, you know, and as fair to me.
Right.
It's crazy. Like my heart breaks for like the boy that in seventh grade, I went to school every day, and if I wasn't called a fag, that was a good day.
Oh my
That's how I
gosh.
measured
Jeez, man.
my days. Like I would literally think that, like, oh, I wasn't called a fag today. Oh, it was a good day. Like that was
Right.
my reality. And I didn't really cry about it. I wasn't like I was never physically uh assaulted for, or anything like that. It was a constant, and again in seventh grade, I didn't know I was gay. I had no connection to sexuality. I was the last person to know I was gay. Everybody else told me I was before I knew. And it was like, but when you're that age, you're just trying to not stand out at all. You're not trying to be
Right.
different at all.
Yeah.
And
Because kids
people,
are mean in middle
they're
school.
As
horrible.
hell.
I
Yeah.
was an awful child from 6th through 8th grade. I was terrible just because, I was trying not to get made fun of myself. So I
Exactly.
probably
Oh,
I was probably that kid.
and then I got popular in eighth grade, and I learned how to be funny. And like you, JB, I learned how to be mean, and so therefore I was a bitch. The other thing that I learned how to do was that in the South, I convinced people that I was possessed by the devil,
Oh,
Oh.
wow.
and
Oh.
that kept people away
Okay.
because it was a survival technique. I didn't
For
realize that's what
sure.
I was doing. But I made people think I was a little crazy, and they were like, I don't know if I want to go near that guy. I might get
Oh,
some of
man.
his crazy.
Mhm.
People say, why did no one say anything? Like, why did no one tell that teacher you can't say that to those
Right.
two students? But you're like, everyone just accepted it.
Yeah.
Everyone just kind of goes, oh, okay, cool, and not thinking, oh, this is really like this is happening right in front of us right
Right.
now
This is
Yeah.
not okay. Yeah. Yeah.
in 2020, or
Mhm.
it's like it's insane.
I remember the very specific moment where my brain kind of clicked and it said, okay, stop being mean to people.
Mhm.
7th or 8th-ish grade, and I was riding the bus with a kid who was a few years older than me. He was in high school. I was in middle school. The schools were right next to each other. And there was a kid who got picked on relentlessly. His name was Philip. And Philip used to have to hold his backpack when he was getting off the bus because people would tug at the backpack and trip him and push him as he would walk to the front of the bus. And I remember one day, after people were picking on this kid, I leaned over to Jason because he let me sit with him because he was cool. And I said, man, Philip is such a nerd. And he looked at me and he goes, why? And my brain like processed, and I could not come up with an answer that didn't sound totally shallow and like I was being a total prick. And so that always stuck with me. Why? And I that moment kind of was an epiphany for me, like, be better.
Yeah.
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 It's I love that. And it's like can be so simple sometimes. I
Just somebody
remember
having a dialogue,
Yep.
right.
asking
Absolutely.
why.
I used to do impressions of all my teachers. And
Nice.
most of them were terrible people. I look back and go, oh, they were awful. I mean, oh my God. One of the most like depressing moments is when in 10th grade when my like one of my favorite teachers like said fag as from the I want to say from the pulpit, but whatever you do from the lectern, I should say.
Okay.
And I remember how
The
that broke my heart.
dais,
I mean,
if
a
you
lot of my
will.
teachers were terrible. So, but I didn't understand the levels, and I also made fun of our janitor, this woman, and I made fun of her, and she um it was awful. I made fun of her for and made and like I sang like 'cause I said she looked like a troll, and I sang the
Oh
theme
man.
song to that movie Troll, and to make my friends laugh. And then our assistant principal called me over and made me like actually talk to her because he saw it
Mhm.
happening, and it was so heartbreaking because I was like, this woman didn't ask for that. Like, she's
Right.
not an asshole teacher. She's doing a job, and so was the moment for me that I was like, oh, I'm not just entertaining my friends. I'm hurting someone.
Right.
That's not cool. Like, I can do this without doing that.
It's like they say though, man, hurt people hurt people.
That's true.
I feel like it's definitely the norm. Gay characters in media are usually portrayed as like meek or small or feeble characters. As a writer and an actor yourself, do you feel the need to combat that, and if so, how?
Yeah, I do. I mean, that's a great question. And it's a hard question because I know that we fight for representation and we
Hmm.
fight for, just to be in the room.
Hmm.
And then it's like when you write the gay character and they're kind of the same. And like I like you said meek, because
Hmm.
there is like a there's they write them very like, like they don't matter whether they're there or not. They come in, they'll tell a joke or two, and then
Right,
they take their coffee mug and they leave.
right.
And
With
it's sad.
sass, it's like, come
We
on.
make everybody laugh, and then you're like,
Yeah,
but does that person have a home that they go to? Do they have a partner? Do they have a family? Do they have
yeah.
like parents? Like they have opinions about like what kind of food they like? Nothing. It's just like
They like
just
their
Mhm.
food fierce.
ah,
Right, right.
honey. Okay, if my food doesn't snap, I don't
Right.
cap or whatever. Um, no, but I think we're also very scared. I think it's a problem where a lot of it is like I look at gay people, gay writers are
Hmm.
afraid to show ugly gay people, ugly on the inside.
Mm,
I think
right,
and outside. You look at every gay show, and everyone's just gorgeous,
right.
but it's also like they want everyone to be heroes. They want to show these good people.
Hmm.
And I think that's really important. I'd love seeing that in a documentary. I love
Hmm.
seeing that in real life. I like
Yeah.
seeing nice people in the world. But I think, especially in comedy, we're afraid. And this obviously, I understand why straight people would be afraid to write a problematic gay character.
Hmm.
Just like if I had to write a character of color, like I wouldn't want to be like, oh, and the villain is not white. I would feel like I need help with this, like
Right.
because all my, you know, guilt comes up and all my bullshit that has nothing to do with what I'm writing comes up. So I
Hmm.
get it, but I see it in gay creators too. They want to make these really kind of not believable gay people on screen
Hmm.
so that we can show like, look, we're good. We
Hmm.
can have, and so I understand the impulse behind that, but
Right.
it's kind of boring to me in a way. Like I like showing like complicated people, and
Hmm.
I mean, yeah, I mean
Yeah.
that's definitely something that I
Just
think is
real people. Yeah.
real people that make
Yeah.
mistakes. They don't have to be monsters. They don't all have to be like horrible people. But because I also, I mean, I'm at a point now, like, I like sometimes when I get cast as a nice person because I'm like, oh, I'm
Hmm.
playing a nice guy this time. That's fun.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I like the range. It's like we're actors. We like to, part of the reason I think we all got into this job is because we like to, like, today I'm wearing a mustache and I'm going to be this
Right.
guy. And then
Right.
tomorrow I'm wearing a top hat. And I'm this, like, we like playing. Like, we don't want to
Hmm.
be the same thing over and over again.
For sure. That was one thing that I commended the show Insecure about, because like you just get to see black people being people.
Yes.
And so often we come in as like the hey, haha, what's going down? And you know that type characters.
Right.
And it's like, dude, black people aren't like that. Like, of course, that may be some that are, but for the most part,
Sure.
we're just folks, just regular folks.
Right.
Yeah,
And that show is so great because it shows so many levels as well, so that it gives you space
for sure.
to be that, because you're also like, you don't want to scrub all of that out of characters and be like, hi, we're just like straight white men, we're
Right,
all
right, right. Yeah,
because you're not, and we're not, and that's
yeah,
what makes us really all interesting. But
yeah.
it does, I think it takes a show like Insecure, one of those that has like a lot of black people, not just the one,
Definitely.
or like you're saying, not just What's Happening, 227,
Right,
Amen, which are
right.
great shows.
Hmm.
But there's like a flavor that I think everyone kind of expects, like, oh, if it's a black show, it's gonna sound like this and feel like
Hmm.
this,
Right,
you know. And Insecure has so many moments, and it's the perfect title because there's so many moments of like, I've watched that show and been like, I don't know how to feel right now, or I feel
right.
like, or I've watched it and been like, I'm such an outsider, like I don't understand this, I have to keep
I
watching,
know.
and that I think is really powerful. It's not like I'm just sitting there laughing along with everyone. I'm going, oh,
Mhm.
whoa, this is space that I'm not familiar with, and I need
It's
to.
For sure.
okay to not be in on the joke sometimes.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. Yeah, it's just creating a show where you are portraying your characters as like, you know, normal human beings, but they're still immersed in their culture. I feel like that's really hard to do, but I like when I see that on screen.
That is good.